What's going on, you guys? This is pretty much a freestyle. Welcome to the Ripple Effect. I'm the type of person when I get inspiration, I act on it, or I do something like I just dive into it. I make mistakes or I make it successful. I've seen both sides of that. But in this case, this one was a little different, and I felt like it was more in alignment. And I've had a lot of different shows in the past or things like that, such as the what did I do? I had the afterburner. It was my thoughts after I get done running. I've had my human component spaces, live streams, and things like that. I've always been trying to figure that formula out per se, but this time it was more in alignment, I guess, with how I guess things came about. And then most people don't know, I've been putting like wave emojis in most of my tweets for like the past month. And I started doing that because I noticed a pattern on YouTube with like emojis and people talking. And I'm like, that emoji it might not be for me, it might not be for somebody else. But that's just me seeing the patterns and the synchronicities and trying to figure out how to take it to that next level. So with me saying that, I like to welcome everybody to the Ripple Effect. This was something that really wasn't off the cuff. I think it was something that was meant to happen because I'm seeing way too many synchronicities and way too many things that's aligning to tell me that this might be what it is. So, just a short story to that. I had got my interview done. I believe the video is going to go up in a week or two with ex Stacy, and I was watching her video the other day with Soul Sovereign, I believe. Don't want to get anybody's names wrong, but that video she put up, it spoke to me in such a way because it Soul Sovereign herself, she was like speaking directly to me, and like just hearing what she was saying, a lot of the synchronicities. I start when I watch X Stacy's videos, I tend to like either talk to Grok or I take notes and I just start writing because like I feel like when I write stuff down, it either makes it come out or it's good to document that stream of consciousness while you're going along with it. So when I watch videos, I watch content, I pause and start and stop a lot of content. And that's just something I really like to do. It's almost like I'm studying as I go along in a way. Not necessarily copy or write answers down, but the inspiration, it flows, and you can I feel like when you do that, you can weave things together and figure out what's for you and what's not for you. So during that video, she spoke to a lot of different things. I had did my breakdown that night about Saturn, and just randomly, I was driving and I wasn't driving, but I was just randomly typing down things that was popping in my head. I didn't really do any research, just common patterns, things I think make sense. Saturn. Uh, I got my own reasons why I think things about Saturn and that hexagon on Saturn and how that connects to Bitcoin, Satoshis, and Sats and all that. And I got my own theories that I don't know if the world ready for yet, or if they too outlandish that they put me in a straitjacket. But so I was watching that video with X Stacy and Soul Sovereign, and Soul Sovereign mentioned I don't even know if that's her name. That's what I'm calling her. I need to get that right, but I'm not a journalist. Soul Sovereign mentioned that video anyway. He mentioned the Sat Yuga. It was a cycle of time that happens like every million years. And me and my brain, it just instantly started taking that to be something to do with Sats and Bitcoin and something on a deeper level. So I really started to tune in and dig deeper and dive deeper. And as I did that, I started to understand this might be deeper than what I think it is. Let me start taking notes. And she was talking about I should have got her name. See, this is bad journalism. She was talking about how like synchronicities happen, like how you got to listen to those internal nudges where they point you and taking you in different directions, or when they like taking you out of like different practices, or when they take you into something new. And one thing she talked about was when they was she said she was trying to go into some type of career or something like that, or somebody sent her a random piece of mail, and she said, you know what, I'm gonna just go with it. And then she actually ended up going with it, and it was something that she was already being nudged toward, and she already knew about it. And then she spent the next 25 years of her career into that. And when she said that, I said, let me pause and start writing, because I had that internal nudge happen to me. And she literally, I think she mentioned, like, you go to a bookstore or something, you try to get one thing and another thing falls out. And that happened to me the other day. Well, it wasn't the other day, it was more like a month or two ago. I was spending the night at my parents' house, just chilling out. And my dad, he's a whiz of his own. He likes to do his own formulas and things and stuff like that. So anyway, he just comes in and say, "Hey, uh, my formula worked out," and he gave me like $150 for no reason. So I just kept it in my back pocket. I don't spend cash. And then one day we were just all sitting around having a good time. I said, "Dad, let's go to the bookstore." It's like 9 p.m. So me and my daughter, and my dad went to the bookstore, and I was going to a bookstore because I kept felt like something was nudging me to trade. And I know a lot of people are against trade and things like that, but for me, I feel like it's a lot of different ways the universe can guide us on to different patterns, and what's for you might not be for everybody. So I understand that, but I just went there to try to find a book. I didn't even know what I was going to look for, and I'm gonna post that up later. So I went and found that book. It was called Day Trading by somebody, I don't remember. But when I pulled that book out, and it was the only book up there, this other book fell out about options. And the best part of it freaked me out so bad, I never even opened those books. But going back to what she was saying about, I guess, being in that energy or like listening to those internal nudges, like I was trying to take the effort to do something and study something because my brain runs 1,000 miles an hour. So I'm always gonna like just be like zoned out and doing things in a way to where I have to do something. So for the way my brain works, I don't know if it's undiagnosed ADHD or whatever. I have to trade. Like I get so bored. I understand Bitcoin. I love Bitcoin. 95% of my portfolio is Bitcoin. The other 5% entertains my hyperactivity and keeps me busy and keeps me out of trouble. Because I used to go crazy on these motorcycles. I really don't anymore. But so I never even opened that book, but it just really struck me when they said that in the video, X Stacy, like it was an internal nudge. And I was like, why did this? I can recognize the internal nudges by now because I'm like, why did this book fall out of here out of nowhere? How did this even? I said, I only bought that book because, like, number one, my dad, he already gave me the money to buy it, even though I got money. But it's like, we just bought like $100 worth of book that night, and I said, you know what? I just kept that book on the shelf, and I haven't really thought about it. I haven't even opened up neither one of those books, to be honest. But it just surprised me, like the synchronicity of listening to that during that show. So as I was listening to the show, I was writing that down, and then I was like just compounding all of the, because I watched all of X Stacy shows up to that point with the Bitcoin Nova podcast, because she's had a very eclectic group of people on there, and it's not the normal type of, like super technical type people. It's a little mix of both, but I feel like it's more of a spiritual compass on that show. And I like that show to that degree where I'm like, you know what? I can rock with this. I can make something of this. So I feel like this is where I need to be. I don't mind listening. I don't mind doing my keynotes and just really honing in and taking in the information. And everybody that's been on there so far has had something good to say. So as they had something good to say, I said, you know what? Let me keep connecting these internal nudges. So I just started writing down what was coming in my mind. So after I wrote that down, I wrote down the ripple effect. Because I was like understanding that Stacey has all these guests and they get to speak on like their certain topics and Bitcoin points, but I was seeing the ripples in between what people were saying as far as like how they got to where the whole backstory to Bitcoin, the whole backstory to even people that may not be in Bitcoin. Like even how I wasn't in Bitcoin, I was heavily in memes, but I always had the same mindset. And that mindset was no matter where I'm at, it's always about like spirit and truth. It's always about trying to weave that in. Even if it's a meme, let's weave something into it. Let's teach the people. If you come raid me, I'm probably going to hit you with something that's going to activate your DNA because I wasn't really here to just make memes. But if we are going to be here and do that, let's try to put some sauce on it and still try to fulfill some type of life mission, or at least just spread some good, do some good out here while we can. Because be honest, when I was in that meme sector, I wasn't doing the normal thing. I wasn't running into 1,000 play. I was, but I wasn't even taking profit. I'm up crazy numbers, up over $100,000 last year, and I never really took profit because I didn't go into that area for the profit. I went into that area initially just to experience a community, and I experienced community. I think that's one thing that I got out of it that allowed me to see the ripple effect. One thing I got out of memes that was so prominent is I met a really solid group of people in that area, and I'm still like locked in with those people to a degree. But it allowed me to see like you can build something solid and not have to be unethical about it. And as I continued to do that and just stay in that energy, I kept hopping into different communities trying to find something real, trying to find something prominent. And I just kept hopping around over and over and over again. And I would hold the bag because I would think, and like I don't know if I had a savior complex or whatever, but I would think like I'm holding the bag, so maybe if I keep holding this bag, this I thought just me, myself was holding the community together, but I slowly realized that it doesn't depend on just me. It depends on everybody. So even though I managed to be top wallet 6 times and not dump on people, things still end up running to the ground, whether it was the certain community members or the devs or things like that. But this ain't even about that. This was just the experience that I gathered from that, and I brought that with me. So one day, speaking to the synchronicities and the ripple effects, I said, you know what? I'm looking for an army. Everybody got their meme armies. They got all these type of things. I want something that fits for me. So when I was in those days I started seeing the patterns in the writing on the wall, because just like I do with ecstasy shows, and I write down, I do things like that. One thing I tend to do when I meet people, or when I meet like select individuals, or if I just find myself in a situation, I start to reverse engineer. And what I mean by that is I start to like, okay, if everybody's here for money, maybe I shouldn't be. If everybody's moving in a certain way, maybe I should move the opposite way. If the dev is moving, quotations, the dev. If the dev is moving a certain way, maybe I should try to move the opposite and see outside of the spectrum. Let me analyze what's going on in here. And as I continued to do that, I started to say, okay, this isn't as ethical as I thought. And I could easily still be making money over there, but it's something about me. Like, even if I did make money, I'm not going to sell, because that's not in my character, because that's a whole nother story. But my whole point is what I bought into that, when I bought into that whole spiel of memes, and what I learned was that community aspect. And I kept taking that with me into different communities and holding the bag and thinking it was all on me. But slowly and surely, 6 times that happened where I wasn't taking profit, and I wasn't trying to trade the charts, and I wasn't trying to take profits. And I'm like, okay, so this is community, but the community is based around money. And if you put money in the mix, in an unethical way at the end of the day, kind of like that way, well, I say Cynthia, not Crypto Latina no more, kind of that way if she don't like now, like when you decide to change up and change your energy, people might not respond to that in the right way, because it's centered around money. But I always stuck with her for the positivity and who she was as a person. Like when I was in memes, I wasn't looking for the money. I was always looking for the character of people. And I guess that's why, even though majority of my core community is still over there, I found a group of solid people that, regardless of what they hold, they're good people. And that made me think about the ripple effect of how things compound and how things evolve. And not only that, I've actually exited positions where I found out they were unethical, and literally the next day the universe would either reward me with some money, or I would find some money, or I get a random check for that happened 2 times in 1 week when I closed a position that I knew was finna at least 10x. But I'm like, but in my spirit I felt like, you know what, this ain't ethical anymore. Even though I know I could run off with the bag, it's not about the bag anymore. And then as I did that, it kept pushing me more and more into Bitcoin. And this all is tied back up, because it was about listening to those internal nudges. And that internal nudge told me to go find the Bitcoin army. And I literally went and typed the Bitcoin army. And believe it or not, somewhere in my tweets, the first time I typed the Bitcoin army in, I couldn't even join because one of the mods had me blocked. Or maybe it was an X glitch or something, but I couldn't even join. So I said, you know what? Everything happened for a reason. And then that's when I started making like all my afterburner content and my human component content, and I just kept going that way, because I kind of like internally knew with that internal nudge that Bitcoin was the answer. So I kept that same energy. I'm like, you know what, regardless of how everything's going, I'm gonna just keep pushing toward that energy and try to figure out what's for me. And as I continued to push that energy toward that way, I said, you know what, I'm gonna just keep sticking with Bitcoin, because like I said, even when I was in the memes and I was doing all that, somehow, some way, I was trading futures with some people, and they was trading the memes, and I was trading Bitcoin, even though, boohoo, people trade. I didn't even end up taking profit on that position, but I was up 600%. But that's actually what made Bitcoin click for me. I said, we playing with all this highly volatile stuff, but I'm the type of person, I'm going to go get some money. So to that same energy, I was like, if I was putting that same amount of money in Bitcoin and not even trying to play with all these different charts, I would be sitting on a whole Bitcoin right now, maybe 2. Because Bitcoin was very low, and we was throwing 5K, 10K. It's not even about the numbers, not even about the money. It's just recognizing the perspective. Like, that's what made Bitcoin click for me, on a perspective of like, I should be just being studious with my money. And that was another layer to it. It clicked that maybe if I be studious with my money, and then I start thinking about the godly aspects of money, how would the creator want me to treat my money, and don't just think because it's crypto or it's Bitcoin or it's stable coins that it's not money. And if the creator was constantly blessing me with money, whether it was through trades or through certain positions, how am I going to respect this money? And once I start overlaying on that on top of it with Bitcoin, that's what kind of shifted the whole switch for me and made me start go looking for the Bitcoin army. So when I found the Bitcoin army, it was pretty much like finding Michelle and Rob and all those people in the Moss and Ecstasy and AA. When I found those people, it was more so like what I was already trying to do, but on like times 1,000. They already had the altruism. They already had that internal thing that I was trying to teach people in the memes, but they couldn't see past the price. If we stick together and we keep lifting one another and we center around one thing, we'll rise to the top. And I couldn't make that people get that no matter what. And if I could, eventually they'll start playing with another coin. And then eventually they'll start playing with another coin. I'm like,